So I guess, what have you learned from your family or others about what IVF was like, in the early 1980s? Because clearly it is vastly different than what it was previously.
Yeah, I mean, and what's interesting is it's vastly different and it's also not vastly different. And what I mean by that is, my birth was the first kind of what we think of as modern IVF. So Louise Brown, who was the first IVF baby in the world, was born via what we call natural cycle. So there were no hormone injections to stimulate this production of eggs and, whatever. I was, the first baby that was, pretty all hormone protocol. That basic hormone protocol has not really changed that much. Some of the names of the drugs, but not their functions or forms has changed. Some of the instruments that were used in IVF are better now, but were really invented through my mother's birth. And so, a whole slew of transfer catheters and all these kinds of things that didn't exist are now, commonplace. But the procedure itself is pretty much the same. There's a lot of different options now that can kind of go around IVF with pre-implantation genetic testing. And, you can freeze eggs and embryos now, which we didn't figure out how to do until, I remember touring a facility when I was 11. So as much as it's changed, a lot of it is still exactly the same.
So your parents were on the hormone regimen and all of that. So that process for them is kind of what it is still now.
Yeah, except for the fact that because it was the first time being done, you give yourself hormone injections or your spouse gives your hormone injections at home now. Well, back then, yes. She was having injections by a nurse or a doctor. So every time she needed a shot, they basically had to get on a plane and travel, which is kind of mind-blowing, right? That part of it is a little bit different, but the actual drugs themselves are essentially the same.
That is wild. It's wild to think about, all these years and that process is still the same. And with all the technology and all of the things that we have in place, the very first time that I had to take progesterone injections, I asked my husband, obviously, to give it to me. And he was he saw the needle. He's like, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, fine, I'm going to do it myself. And I tried to do it myself that first day. And I was like, I can't do this. So it's funny you say that she had to travel to go see a nurse every day. I actually had to travel to my intended mother. She had a nurse friend and who actually I had to go to her house every single day to get the shot because my husband couldn't do it for me. I couldn't figure out how to do it myself. I didn't have to travel as far. It was still in the same state, luckily. But I can only imagine having to travel back and forth from Massachusetts to Virginia all the time. Because I'm assuming she had to first take the medication to create the eggs and then take medication to be able to actually do the transfer and hold the pregnancy.
That's right. She was given all these hormones to create the eggs. And on her retrieval, they only got 2 eggs.